So they lied to us. They, the bankers, the United States, the European Union, Iceland, Bush, none of what we've gone through was supposed to happen. This financial crisis has taken sort of the world by surprise. We've heard today many educated and very advanced explanations to why all this happened and even how it maybe could have been avoided. I am not particularly interested in the excuses or the explanations. What impresses me over the last several weeks, several months, is how fast we can act when we have to. I mean, just imagine how fast these things that were not conceivable to start with have been implemented. Another lie is on the screen. In Lisbon in 2000, the European Union said that they will make the EU the most competitive and dynamic, knowledge-based economy in the world, capable of sustainable economic growth with more and better jobs and social cohesion. What an ultimate lie. Nothing of this is happening around us, and there's just less than 2 years to go. Now, in most people that I know, knowledge tends to be in the head. I know very few people who would seem to have knowledge somewhere buried in the rest of their bodies. And still, when we look at business today, it tends to be still very much organized around the body. I mean, let's take a simple example. Many of us here are wearing suits and ties. Now, I'm not aware of really anybody who thinks that a suit and a tie is optimal for their heads. I mean, if it were, I'm sure they'd wear suits and ties at home and at night and at sports and so on. Well, let's get serious. If we are to concentrate on the head, we need to concentrate on the head. And to reach the knowledge economy, knowledge-based economy that we are talking about, it needs to be all up here. Now, that leaves us with some urgent business priorities. If it only were that 2010 is so close, but there is a much, much more drastic reason. Globalization is happening around us every day, every hour, every minute, every second. What does globalization leave us in most of Europe? Manual labor? No. The only thing that we can count on exists in our heads. So some of the urgent priorities is to understand what the expectations are on the head, how to optimize the head, and how to lead all those heads that are creating the knowledge economy. If we first look at some of the expectations, a knowledge economy, I'm sure, would love to have every head particularly inventive and innovative. I mean, that would seem to be a good model for that. Of course, independence in the head would prove very useful. Independent thinking, new ideas, departure from traditional models. Entrepreneurship is what we very much call for, and which we've heard today, percentages of how many entrepreneurs there seem to be in various countries. And another element of that is risk-taking. To be an entrepreneur, you have to be able to take risks and live with them. Now, what's the reality? Our educational system doesn't have anything to do with these values. It pumps knowledge into the heads. Much of that knowledge is outdated and obsolete to start with, but it certainly does not seem to create inventive and innovative heads. Wonder why so many of the entrepreneurs skip university to start their company, because they don't see any connection in the value there. If you strive for independence, sure, our traditional obedience-based work system is not very good for that. You tell me what to do, I obediently execute. That's crap. Entrepreneurship, so painfully needed and required, is honestly not really endorsed by the society. You can hear it in official speeches every once in a while, but has it entered the regular vocabulary of the parliaments and the governments and the politicians and the business leaders? No. And particularly risk-taking, by definition, if you take a risk, you may fail. If you don't have the potential to fail, you haven't taken a risk in the first place. But this is not supported by the legislation of our societies. I mean, we know how strict and harsh can the bankruptcy laws be on anybody who took a risk and failed. You're doomed, you're bad, you should be locked up and not allowed to play, and some societies actually do this. You go through bankruptcy and they don't allow you to start a new business. Absolute nuts. A Silicon Valley model would say that you cannot be a good entrepreneur, you cannot be a top-level entrepreneur unless you've gone through 3 bankruptcies personally. That's the ultimate education that you can get into how to run an entrepreneurial business. So we seem to have so much to do in formally preparing the society for what it needs to do. When we think then of how the head is organized and optimized, here again we list some typical work-related issues. I mean, we believe that there needs to be premises, often called offices. There needs to be working hours, and so on.